Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today is Sunday, March 2nd, 2025, and seeing as it's Sunday, we have new federal projections from 338Canada. The projections you're seeing right now are from last week, and you can see that last week when I made the video, I did mention a few things about the trends and how they were looking, how the Conservatives were close to losing their majority prediction status, and also how there were big movements in Eastern Canada, especially with Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada, which was leaning more towards the Liberals. So this is how the projections were last week. And now if you see from last week to this week, the changes are very drastic. Almost all of Eastern Canada is leaning heavily towards the Liberals. Even Quebec, which is leaning towards the Liberals over the Bloc Québécois for the first time in a long time. And I feel like Trump is to blame for that, or is to thank for that, but because Quebec right now is not focused on independence and they're more focused on federation with Canada, opposing the tariffs that are bound to be placed in a few days by the US together. And that has shown in the polls where the Liberals are now ahead sizably in Quebec over the Bloc. In Ontario as well, it's pretty neck and neck, but the Liberals are pushing ahead of the Conservatives as well. In Atlantic Canada, I feel like the biggest moves have happened here, where all of the Atlantic provinces are leaning towards the Liberals. There's not that much of a movement with Western Canada. There is a bit of movement with BC, which we'll see here as well. As you see, the gap between the Liberals and Conservatives hasn't been this tight in a long time. NDP, Bloc Québécois, and the Greens are pretty stagnant now, but the biggest moves we've seen so far is with the Liberals gaining and the Conservatives losing federally. If you look at provincially, you see that the Liberals have taken over the Conservatives now finally, and the Liberals have sizably taken over the Bloc Québécois in Quebec. With Atlantic Canada, as I mentioned before, you see the biggest change where the Liberals have sizably taken over and the Conservatives have collapsed sizably as well. There is a bit of an uptick in BC for the Liberals as well, and if this trend continues, then it will be more likely that the Liberals will end up forming government. BC is, I guess, the last stronghold left for the Liberals, where the Conservatives are still ahead, but time can change everything. I'm thinking of changing the Manitoba one and adding like a prairies seat projections, because there's not that many seats in Manitoba to begin with, so I can't really talk about that in terms of change as much, but the NDP has caught up a bit in Manitoba. Talking about likelihoods in Canada now, for the first time ever, a Conservative majority is not the most likely outcome anymore. The most likely outcome, as predicted by 338Canada, is now a Liberal minority, followed by a Conservative minority, and then a Conservative majority, and now there's even a 2% chance of a Liberal majority as well. The odds of party winning the most seats is still Conservative with 62%, but it is sizably down, and the Liberals have a 37% of gaining the most seats, which is up by a lot as well. And as you see here, looking at the confidence intervals of the seat projections, you can see that now it is more likely that a Conservative minority happens, and in that case I am very curious to see what sort of coalition can be formed in Canada in case of a minority government. The Conservatives can only really partner with the Bloc Québécois, and I'm not sure if they would want to partner with the Conservatives. So if they end up getting a minority government, that can spell doom for the Conservatives. They are not going to partner with the NDP or with the Liberals. So there we go. You can see here again how the gap has narrowed significantly for the Liberals, and if this trend keeps continuing by next week, when we have a new Prime Minister as well, and most likely it's going to be Mark Carney, but when we have that, we might even have the Liberals being level with the Conservatives if this trend continues. So this is just a quick short video just to give you an update on what the situation is right now. Next week will be very interesting to see what happens if Mark Carney or whoever the next Prime Minister is, if they end up calling a federal election in March, because the trends are favoring the Liberals right now, or if they'll just wait out the tariffs, and even what the tariff situation is going to be, because the tariffs are bound to be placed in 2 days. and I haven't heard that much about it. So let's see what happens, and I'll keep you updated about what's happening, and we'll see. If you like this video, if you like this update, if you like hearing more news related stuff to do with Canada, then I suggest you like this video and subscribe so that I know that you are interested in these kind of videos, and I'll keep making them. And yeah, that is it for me. I'll see you with the next video.